on this January 25th? And okay, call to order. Determine if we have a quorum. And so can we just say who's here? And then I will determine if we have a quorum, please. Just Michael Goteri,
Yes, I'm here.
Sophia,
Yep. Can you hear me?
Grant,
He's here.
Grant. Okay, Mark. Kuzo.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Michael Aliano,
Michael Aliano, present.
John Solomon. Okay, John could not make it. And Darrell, I know you're here, so I can call your name, and I'm here, of course. Okay. So the approval of the minutes. I'd like to have a motion to move the minutes, but I'd like to have you go through them, see if there are any deletions or corrections that have to be made or subtractions, if you would, please.
So
And if not,
this is Darrell. Looking at the minutes, and I could be wrong from the December minutes. She has Alderman Mark Betancourt on the minutes. Is that a mistake?
that is a mistake.
Okay.
I think Mark Betancourt was did the recording. I think that we corrected those minutes before they actually got. Sorry that was not corrected, but that is a mistake. Yes.
Okay. So that's the only thing is they have him in several places adjourning the meeting at the end. And then, of course, in the attendance piece. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Darrell. Duly noted
Thank you.
and corrected. Do we have? Do we have a motion to move the minutes?
Darrell Wilson, I'll make the motion to accept the minutes with the necessary changes.
Michael Aliano,
second.
seconding. Michael Aliano,
Thank you.
seconding.
Thank you, Michael. Let's just do a quick roll call. Michael, just say yes or no. Yes, Michael Goteri.
Yes.
Sophia.
Yes.
Darrell.
Yes.
Grant. Grant, are you aboard?
He's here, but he said yes. I can see his face.
Okay. And Michael said he moved the minutes, and John Solomon is
Yes.
out. I also agree to the minutes. Okay. Let's see.
I'm a
Committee
yes, too.
Pollution Board. Who's that? Yes.
Sukuzo.
Oh, sorry, Michael. Sorry, Mark. Okay. Do we have a community policing report? I don't have anything from the police to report. So we were not going to be doing one. The Harbor Master report, there seems to be a mix-up. Last I heard, Rich Thayer was on his way to City Hall and I could not catch him. But the last few minutes of the conversation that I had with him, it was pertaining to the sunken boat down in off of 60 Terminal Way. It's been there about 2 months now, and it's underwater, and it was leaking at the very beginning, but it seems to have subsided. I guess all the fuel is out. Anyway, he did have a conversation with the owner of the boat today, or I'm thinking today, and the fellow says that he has no money to save that boat. He's going to try to get it up and scrap it. It's what his comments were. And I don't know quite how he's going to do that, but that is something that we would all just like to see out of the Thames River. And at least he's going to try to scrap it. And if we'll see how that goes. So that's what Rich there was going. He did reach out to the state and has not had much luck with the state. So that's all that Rich was going to talk about. tonight, Rich there, who is a harbor master. Do we have any correspondence?
Tucker, this is
I've
Jeff.
had
Could I comment on the sunken boat?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I talked with Mr. Zavoy at the DEP, and he reminded me that the DEP has a fund that they can apply to removal of derelict structures. And that fund it consists of money that they collect by fining violators of their programs. I forget what the name of the fund is, but if we had an estimate of the cost for removing that, DEP may be able to provide us with some funds to do that through this particular program. I know that other towns have requested money from DEEP for that.
All right, who's this person to contact, Jeff?
Mr. Zavoy,
Z, the spelling, please.
Zawoy. I spoke with him yesterday.
All right, that is encouraging news. The fellow who owns the boat did hire a crane service and a diver. He spent $3,000 to do that, and that was a abysmal failure. The crane that he hired was incapable of lifting the boat. It's a good-sized boat. So then we got a local person to come aboard, and he said he had a large crane that this is all just, it's nothing concrete to this. That he has a larger crane, or a crane that could lift more, and he thought that if he raised the boat and by the bow that would it would self-drain, and in the self-draining process would refloat the boat, and then we get to the place of where we're going to store the boat. And he thought he could do it for about $10,000, but we haven't gone out for any. We're just asking questions at this point in time, but it's very interesting that Mr. Zowie from Deep has some funds that we could, in theory, use for that.
In theory, right. So I think
In theory, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a contact for Mr. Zowie?
yes, I do, but he's not working in the office. It's his cell phone number, so I'll give it to you after the meeting, Tucker.
Okay, thank you very much.
Or you can just call his office number, but we can contact him tomorrow.
I understand. Okay, that's
Just don't
good.
wanna
That's,
give his number out over the public.
we understand.
Tucker, it's Michael Aliano. I would encourage either you or the harbor master to reach out to like Kennedy Marine, get a second quote. Kennedy Marine should be able to float the boat and then haul it wherever it needs to go. I would hope for less than that.
Well, that's a good idea, Michael. Do you have a contact for Kennedy Marine, or just Ken?
I do.
Marine?
I'll text it to you after the meeting.
That's fine. And they also have a couple of boats tied up on
Yep.
some castle property. Okay, I know who they are. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
I've helped them write a couple boats, so it should be fine.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, let's see. At correspondence, we didn't have any. Actually, there is a little correspondence. I want to save it for. I'm going to save it for the race engineering report. Michael, do you have anything on the Michael Grotieri? Do you have anything from the financial?
Yep. Okay, on this month's income statement, there's communications, the data line for the harbor cam of $150.80. Now that includes 2 months worth of fees, December 2021 and this month. So on next month's statement, which would cover the month of January, there won't be a fee for that, and that's because of the way that accounts payable had to pay the bill. So that's the only
Okay.
expense. Our net income to date is $6,172.20, of which we have a balance currently available, $21,104.51, of which $5,720.32 is restricted for the harbor management plan. And unrestricted available funds to us now are $15,384.19.
Those are unrestricted funds. Okay. Any questions? Anyone? Then may I please have a motion to accept this financial report from Michael Gualtieri? Right down the list. Michael, of course, issued the report. Sophia?
Sure.
Sophia?
Yeah,
Okay. Yes?
yes,
I'm looking
I
for a
will
motion.
support.
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Grant?
Yes.
Okay. Michael Aliano? Michael, are you a yes or no?
Excuse me, but I must have missed a motion in a second.
yeah, I think, I
Sorry. Yeah, it's my error. May I have a motion, please, to accept that financial report from Michael Gualtieri?
I will make a motion, Sophia, to accept that
I'll
report.
second the
Thank
motion.
you. So, thank you. Now may I have a roll call? Sophia, yes.
Yes,
Terrell,
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Grant?
He said yes.
Okay. Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Michael Aliano? And Michael is still not, okay. John Salamone is, so we're going to treat Michael as an abstention. Oh, John Salamone is absent. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeas and 1 abstention.
Tucker,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yeah.
I lost audio, so I didn't even hear what we were voting on.
It was on the financial statement.
Okay.
Okay, and
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. New business. And one of the pieces of new business I'd like to deal with is voting on a meeting calendar. And Belinda Wilson was kind enough to put that together. So if we have a motion, do we have the do we want to read the dates? Basically the 4th Tuesday of every month.
This is Michael Aliano. I propose we accept that calendar.
This
A
is
motion
Terrell.
then to accept motion
Terrell.
and a second.
Yep, I'll second it.
Okay, fine. We have the first and the second down the list. Just
Yes.
quickly, Michael, Sophia.
You still
Yes.
new business, Tucker? Are you still
me?
in new business? It's Michael Aliano. Are you still in new business?
I'm on the calendar. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Darrell,
Tucker,
you second.
Mike Gualtieri was a
Grant?
yes on the
Yes,
calendar.
thank you. Grant?
Yeah.
Mark? Yes.
Yes.
Michael?
And
Yes.
Terrell is a yes as well.
Yes.
And Tucker as well. So we have a unanimous decision for accepting the calendar, which meetings are please on the 4th Tuesday of every month. Let's see, the next part of the new business is the race coastal engineering. And let's start by I'd like to introduce this a little bit. We started by going for a grant to the Port Authority, and we did receive a grant for $544,000. The city had to match that 20% of $120,000. We then went out for approximate number, and when we went out to, and DACO did all of the engineering as far as the site work goes, and that came to I believe $10,800, and we paid that. There was not enough information from DACO to put the docs together. So then when Bob Castronova received this in his purchasing office, he then went, and Bob Castronova, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Tucker.
Okay, Bob, do you want to pick it up from here with Race?
Okay, so I went to Race. I asked them,
Yep.
What DACO had done for us was not enough, was not detailed enough for us to put out to bid to get a bid for replacement of the floating docks. So DACO, I talked with DACO. He was too busy. He's a small shop. He recommended Race to us, that he's worked with them before. So in talking with Tucker, we went to Race and asked them to do plans, design plans to replace the docks that would be, have enough detail and enough information to go out for bid. As part of their work, they did, and I agreed to that they needed to dive on the pilings. When they dove on the pilings, it was discovered that most of the pilings are not in good shape and would need to be either sleeved or replaced. And that included the pilings under the fixed deck that's there as well. So, I went back to DACO to add that to the project plans. DACO gave us an estimate, gave us a quote of $5,000. And then it would, we don't really have, since now it's obviously going to be over the cost of the grant that you guys have received, for planning purposes, and Jeff's been working with the state, and there is more money available, but to get a good handle on how much this project would cost, I asked Race to include an estimate of construction, and that's another $500. So right now, Race is waiting for our okay for $5,500 to do the plans and include an estimate of what it would cost to do this, estimate of opinion of probable cost. So that's where we stand right now.
Okay.
Do you want me to comment on it, Tucker and Bob?
I would like you to jump in, Jeff, if you would.
Yes,
Sure,
I
please,
think everything is all positive here. I think the only thing that's of concern is that we may not be able to do the project, or most likely won't be able to do it this year. But the issue of the funds is not the issue. When DACO did the permit, and it's not a permit, DACO prepared for the Harbor Commission a certificate of permission application for approval by DEEP in order to replace the docks at Brown Park. And we needed that approval in order to apply for the grant for the work from the Connecticut Port Authority. And that grant is called the Small Harbor Improvement Project Program grant. And we received the grant, as Tucker mentioned, $544,000. But what DACO did were plans for the purpose of getting approval, not for the purpose of bidding the work or constructing the work. So it was always known that was an additional cost. So in order to put the project out to bid, to competitive bids, as Bob mentioned, we needed the bid plans, the bid specifications that contractors would bid on. And that's when Race discovered that the pilings needed to be need to be replaced. And there's 14 pilings, including both at Brown Park and at the float by the boat launching ramp. So we didn't have approval for replacing those. But a quick estimate is that each of those pilings could cost $10,000 to replace. So that's a significant amount of money more than what's available, what we have from the grant. So Race was contracted to do the bid drawings, but that contract didn't include the replacement of the pilings. So once was determined that the pilings needed to be replaced, Race has submitted another proposal for scope of services, and Bob, I think it's $5,500 and some amount for
Right, yeah, it's 5,500, and that includes them putting together the opinion of probable cost.
Yes,
Too,
yes.
so
And-
we
and-
would have some kind of benchmark when we go back to this, when you guys go back to the state for additional
Right.
funding.
And also in the meantime, DACO applied for another certificate of permission to include the pilings in the project. So that additional certificate of permission application has been submitted to DEEP. And I don't know what the cost of that is, but that's something that would be considered as part of our project and of the grant. Now, the work to come up with the opinion of probable cost for the pilings is most important because we need that estimate in order to apply for additional money from the Port Authority to do the work. So that next round of grants will be forthcoming, but although the Port Authority representative, Mr. Salvatore, could not give me an exact, but it'll be this year. So we need that opinion of probable cost, and we were concerned about that because we did not have what they call geotechnical information to determine what the pilings are located in now or what they would have to be driven into. And fortunately, we were able to find an old, not old, it's about 10 years or so, when the city replaced the deck, the public deck between the boat ramp and the dock. The contractor did borings then. So that's enough information to get the opinion of the probable cost. One of the things that we discussed with Mr. Salvatore, I'm sorry for talking so much, but when we applied for that grant from the Port Authority, we broke up the cost elements of the project. And we had a cost element concerning engineering and permitting. And that included, that was for the amount of $66,500. Now we've already cut into that amount already. But Mr. Salvatore said, don't worry about that. We can apply for any additional funds. We're essentially rescoping the project to expand it from what we originally applied for. And the Port Authority's, is based on what he's told me, we should expect that we'll get additional grant funds the next round to do this. And as Bob mentioned, the problem is you can't put it out to bid without having the money in hand to do the work. A contractor could submit a bid, but then we say, well, we don't have the money for it. So we can't put it out to bid to get what the contractors would indicate is the cost of the pilings, but we'll get that from Race. And then the other thing that Mr. Salvatore suggested is, and the Port Authority wants, based on our conversations, they want to be associated with this project to say, we funded it and it's a good project and look what our grant program can accomplish. So he said, in the meantime, we may want to look and see if there are other improvements at Brown Park with anything more with the public deck that might need to be improved. And Bob was going to have engineering take a look at that. But so the drawback is that we hope to do this project in the spring or in the summer, but we don't have the money to do it. But we should anticipate that the next round of grant funds will give us the money. But in order to apply, we need that opinion of cost, and we need to submit another grant application. So that's my long-winded, but we have confidence that Race is a qualified firm to do this additional work for us. And we have confidence that the Port Authority, we can get an additional grant, but we have to do some more work on it. That's my, and once we get the submittals, if you agree to retain race, once we get their work products and it's acceptable to the city, then we can request payment from the Connecticut Port Authority out of the initial grant that to pay for race's services.
The
And we also-
544.
And we also have to write a letter, though, to them documenting what I've just talked about and what the city intends to do to proceed with this. I think that's,
The letter's going to go to Port Authority or to ship to the Port Authority?
no, we'll write to
Jeff?
Joe. He's the manager. We'll write to Mr. Salvatore as the project manager and explain how we're proceeding with this project. But a lot of this, is we have to, and Mr. Salvatore has emphasized it has to we have to be consistent with the city's purchasing requirements, and that's Bob's job to make sure everything is in order. But that's
Okay. Jeff, thank you very much for your clarity and your comments. And Bob, thank you very much for picking it up from where I gave it to you and with the explanation of why we went to race to get some more dimension on the docks.
But I think, Tucker, the commission, I guess there's two things, and then I'll stop talking. Is one for the commission to agree to this additional allocation of money to race in the amount that Bob mentioned, $5,500 and something dollars. And then the other thing is the commission will need to do, and I talked with Mr. Grzywinski at DEEP, who processed the first certificate of permission application. He's received the second application for including the pilings in our project, and that was submitted to him. They haven't processed it yet, but it's the commission's job now, I think, to write a letter to Mr. Grzywinski in support of that certificate of permission application for replacing the pilings, and explain how that fits into our, just like any application, we would do that.
And that's going to go to Mr. Grzywinski?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your explanations, Bob and Jeff. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Do we have any questions? Comments?
Bob can correct me if anything I said was not right.
No, you are spot on, Jeff.
Tucker's Mark Sacuzzo. I just want to make a statement. It sounds like we've done our due diligence, and without this, the race part of it would be like trying to put a roof on without a foundation of the house. So you got to get it done first. So thank you for explaining it. It makes sense in being doing grants before. This happens all the time. You ask for something and then you need another piece of equipment you didn't know about. You just throw it in and it counts. So I appreciate the explanation, and I'm willing to make a motion if you're accepting that now, Mr. Chair.
Tucker, this is Mike Gualtieri, but before we vote, do you want me to do a brief rundown of the monies spent so far and where they've come from and what's left, so on and so forth? Grant and Darrell probably aren't familiar with this, and it may be good just to review it for everybody.
Yeah, Michael, I think if you have that close by your fingertips, I think that's a great idea. And then Grant and Darrell will have a good understanding of it. Sure.
Okay.
Please.
If everybody would just grab the income statement that we went over with, and I'm going to refer to the grant analysis at the bottom. But so beginning on March of 2019, we've paid Jeff Stedman 3 separate fees, which amount to that $9,279.68. on the bottom of the grant analysis there. We've also spent $10,757.50. That was the grant application for DACO's work. And then $75 recording fee with the town hall. It was one of the permits. Now, that $10,757.50 and the $75 will be coming back to the commission in unrestricted funds out of the grant, the new grant, which had an allowance of $50,000 for engineering and other professional services. So coming back to the commission will be just under $11,000. Now, we have unrestricted funds available specifically for purposes like this of $15,384.19. So that's plenty to cover the $5,500 needed. And Jeff, we need an invoice from you too. We have to pay you. We want to make sure we have enough money to pay you, but that quickly is the fees that we've paid over the last 3 years.
Mike, could I just make a quick comment?
Yeah.
That amount that was paid to me is not for the Brown Park grant though, right? That was for work on the harbor management plan. And
right.
And some other work. And
I'm
then
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, you are correct, Jeff.
and then the amount that you say we have available for this, according to Mr. Salvatore, we have that amount of $544,020. That we can draw from that for any extra, and we're not limited to what we said in the grant application was for engineering and permitting purposes. He said if we go over what we had budgeted for that, we can withdraw, or we can request reimbursement from the larger grant, the $544,000, because we're rescoping the project.
I understand that, but I'm just reading from the current budget. But Jeff, it's actually $664.20 because we need to include the city's portion.
Yeah. Yes.
And of that 664, 50,000 can be put forth for engineering and other professional services, and then the construction costs, etc., is $614,020 is available for that.
Right. Would Melinda, can you give me permission to share my screen just for a second?
I think that's me. Hold on one second.
Oh, thank you, Drew.
You should have the, you should be able to go ahead.
Just so that we, can you see this photograph from several years ago?
Yeah.
I don't have visual. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just an aerial, and you can see the 14 pilings that we're talking about. There's 10 on the main dock and 4 over here. And then what Mr. Salvatore asked is if we feel that there's a need or a desirability of any improvements on this deck, we should also include that in our next round of our next grant application, or if there's any other improvements here. And that's what I was getting at as making it the most complete project that we can make it. And I think, Bob, you said that the engineering may go down and take a look at the public deck to see if there's any need for improvements with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Pat McLaughlin to take a look at it. I mean, hopefully we won't need to have Race come back down. Now, hey, Mike Gualtieri, don't forget that we have a purchase order in the system now for $14,980 for the work that Race started to do. The additional 5,500 we're talking about is in addition to that 14,980, I think was the.
So that's going to be over and above?
Yeah, because when we originally went to them, we did not know that we were going to need to replace the pilings. So when they came and they, as part of their investigation into what would need to be done, they dove So they gave us an estimate of 14,980 to put plans together. And then when we found out that the pilings need to be replaced, now that's extra work to include the pilings into the technical specs and plans. So, and then, so that was another 5,000, and then an additional 500 and change to put the opinion of probable cost together. So
Okay.
we're looking at a little bit over $20,000 total to race to put together the package we're gonna need to go out to bid.
Okay,
And-
so Tucker, we don't have that amount of money available at the moment, but in the grant, it did allow us to bill the state to be reimbursed. So
Yes.
Jeff and Tucker, can we do that right now?
Mr. Salvatore said, once we get the submitted products from Race and they're acceptable to the commission, then we can request the Port Authority payment for those. And there's also in the agreement that the city signed for accepting the grant, there are some requirements for how to submit and what the city has to do to submit payment. But Mr. Salvatore said that we can submit, once we get Race's work, it's acceptable to the commission, and we have an invoice, then we can request payment of that invoice from the Port Authority. And the other thing that we is not accounted for now is DACO's cost to prepare the second certificate of permission to include the pilings. I don't know what that cost is, or if the city has received an invoice for that yet.
We've not received an invoice that I'm aware of.
So that's what I was
Okay.
getting at. We're going over the amount, most likely, that we had originally attributed or said would be part of engineering and permitting. But again, Mr. Salvatore said that's not a problem. We can go into the larger grant funds because we're in effect rescoping the project.
But we cannot,
Okay,
Jeff,
so-
may I ask a question? But what we're saying is we can't do that unless we have a product that we can look at from a commission standpoint and then submit to.
Yes, the Race completes its work. It's accepted
Right.
by the commission as they completed their agreement with the commission, and then we request the payment, or the city requests
Okay.
payment.
Okay.
Okay, so what this does, Tucker, is we're gonna have to ask John Salamone if the city confront us, which I'm pretty sure he'll say yes, because we don't have that amount of money to spend. But once this process is completed, we'll have coming back to us over $31,000, which we could repay the city, and then it should give us some more unrestricted funds. But currently, we don't have that money to pay all that.
Right. How much are we actually light? Hey, Bob, if you would just do those numbers one more time. I know the 10,758 plus an additional 500 or 5,500.
So it was 14,980 originally,
Wait a minute,
And
14,980.
5515 was the additional cost to include the pilings in the design, as well as a probable estimate, an estimate of probable cost for a grand total to Race of $20,495.
And then there's the amount to DACO for the second
Right.
certificate.
On the certificate.
I don't know what that amount is.
Hey, Jeff,
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Does the city have to write that check for 19,000 plus, or does that just go right to the Port Authority and they deduct it off the 600,000?
The way I understood it, I think that was Mark, that
Yes, sir.
when the city gets the invoice from Race, Race will complete its work and send the city an invoice. If the work is acceptable, the city will then request payment from the Port Authority, from the grant funds. The way that grant was intended to work initially was that the city would be responsible for all the costs, and then when it's all done, would request reimbursement. But the Port Authority agreed that as we go through the work and get contractors' invoices, we could then request payment from the Port Authority when we get the invoice. So
Okay,
Yeah.
that's how I took it too. So it doesn't matter how much we have in available funds because it's coming out of that 600,000.
that was my
Uh,
understanding, how long it will take them to pay us, but that's what Mr. Salvatore told me. Get the invoice, if it's approvable, submit it to us in the form that is specified in the agreement with the city, and then the Port Authority will give us a check, or give the city a check for that amount.
Hey, Jeff, this is Mike Galtier. I just want to jump in. It hasn't been my experience that vendors like to wait. So typically
Yeah.
what the city does is pay them, and then the city waits for reimbursement from the state. That's how I'm assuming this is going to work, because I don't think they're going to want to wait, unless you know that for a fact. I mean, that would
I
be great.
don't
but-
know, Mike. No, I wouldn't know that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so Michael, well, Terry, what, the numbers that we have before us, what is the number that we're light?
About
What's the
five,
deficit?
about 5,100, 5,100.
Okay,
And that,
And that would-
and, you know, we need to pay Jeff too, and so that brings us to zero until we get some reimbursement.
and we owe Jeff for, well,
Well,
this work, the
yeah.
completion, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
I can ask Mr. Salvatore tomorrow how long it would normally take for the Port Authority to reimburse the city, or to pay the city from the grant once it gets an invoice submitted to it.
That would be great, Jeff, and make sure you
I'll-
put his feet to the fire on that too.
I'll do that tomorrow, Mike, but also we should check, and Mr. Salvatore said to check the agreement that the city signed when they accepted this grant. And that may have, the specifics about what has to be submitted. But when I
Okay.
talked with him, he expressed no concerns about when we get the invoice from Race, the work is acceptable to us, the work is completed, and then we submit an invoice to the Port Authority and we get paid, or get reimbursed, or whatever the term is, get the money from the Port Authority.
I've sat in on some of the Port Authority meetings, and they're pretty current as far as, seems like they get a bill and they pay it. But it's
I'll
best to talk to those.
I'll check tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be fine. I will check with Darko to see what that certificate of permission is going to cost. Also going back to deep, and I will check on that tomorrow too.
I'm looking at the funding conditions right now. They seem pretty straightforward.
Oh, you have it, Mike. Oh, good,
Yeah, I got the grant right in front of me.
good.
Okay. What do you mean
Mike
by
Galti-
straightforward?
Mike Galtieri, does that mean the city, I'll make a motion if we can cover it. If not, then I'll wait. I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, the motion would have to be subject to city approval for, going over what we have. So as long as the city is good with it, I'm good with it.
Oh, wait. Any other comments? Questions? Michael? Okay, so let's word this, this option. Who wants to word it? Mark,
Yeah, make a motion that we get what Bob, what's the amount that we need? 19,515?
which we're shy $5,100.
It's actually $20,495, consisting of $14,980 for existing work and $5,515 for additional work.
And Bob, that $5,500, is that going to cover the spots in which we're going to be putting those pilings? Bob?
Bob's muted.
Okay.
But-
Would you come?
Yeah, the one, they sent their proposal to us, Tucker. So the 14,980 is what was originally for doing the bid drawings. Now the
Right.
5,515 is to complete those bid drawings by including replacement of the pilings and also including an opinion of probable cost for the pilings. So they can't, they haven't finished it. I guess they have an existing agreement for the 14,980. And they're
Right.
asking now for approval from the city to go ahead with the 5,515 proposal. And then once they do all that, they'll have finished the bid drawings, including the pilings, replacement of the pilings.
Okay. Do we all understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mark, do you want to finish this recommendation?
Yeah, make a motion that we spend the 20,000, what was the last four? I'm sorry.
495.
20,495 to take care of the two to the engineering firms so we can move forward with the grant.
This is Michael Aliano. I second it.
It's got to say subject to the city manager's approval because we're over what we have.
Okay, sorry,
Subject
Melinda, can you
$5,100.
write that, put that in for me, nicely worded, since you're better at it than I am? And is that okay that we do that? Ask them, spend the money without asking them, or should we, do we have to go to them and ask, we need the 5,000 and then do it? Sorry, I don't want to snub my nose at anybody.
Yeah,
We have to have John's permission. We can only spend what we have, which the 15,384. So maybe we should make it subject to city manager's approval for costs over unrestricted funds of $15,384.19.
Perfect. That I couldn't have said it better myself.
No, well, we're not looking for John to come up with 15,000 though. We're looking for John to come up with $5,100.
Yes, Tucker, I know that.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Say it again, Michael Quotary, please.
Yes, so we're looking for the $20,495,
Right.
subject to the approval of the city manager for costs exceeding the Harbor Commission's unrestricted available funds of $15,384.19.
Okay.
And that will
So
all be
that is the,
yeah, and that will be all reimbursed, correct? We'll get all that back from the grant.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Plus, we got another, and we'll put in for the $10,832.50, which we've spent over the last 3 years as well. So we should get a good chunk back.
About 31, large, good.
Yep.
All right, thank you for
That
the
is
help
a
on
motion.
that, everybody.
Yeah, that is the motion going forward. And Michael, will you, your second
I
on that?
second it.
Michael,
I second it. Michael
Okay.
Aliano.
I'm gonna go down the list real quick. I'm not gonna ask Michael, because you've already agreed to it. Sophia,
Yes. Yes. yeah.
Darrell,
Yes.
okay, Grant,
Yes.
okay, and Mark, and
Yep.
just go. Michael.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are all in favor of that. Get these. Okay.
Tucker, it's Michael Aliano.
Yes, Michael.
Tucker, I've got to get going, but I just wanted to communicate, nothing we need to vote on. Just wanted to communicate that a sailboat was stolen from American Wharf. My understanding, it's recovered. I believe I saw Richard Thayer down there. I believe he is involved. I cannot speak on his behalf, but I know the police were involved and the individual was apprehended. So just wanted, because involved the harbor, just want to mention it, but I do need to go.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.
The rest I'll bring up. Yeah, thank you for attending, and we'll talk later regarding the
Take
other
care. And
issues.
I text you that number, Tucker.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's Kennedy
Take care.
Marine.
Hi, Mike. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Be well, Mike.
Okay, going on now to old business.
Could Tucker, before you move on to that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could the commission agree to write a letter to Deep supporting the certificate of permission approval to add the pilings to the Brown Park project? I mean, the commission is actually the applicant of that, and I think instead of just the application, there should be a letter explaining the importance of it, and that we explaining the importance and to the city of Norwich and urging favorable action on the application.
So it's a support letter going off to Deep.
Yeah,
Right,
but
good.
that would be the sense of the commission to do that then.
So may I have a motion that we write these letters, one to Michael Griswinski, and then, let's see, who's the other one to?
That's all we need to do now, Tucker.
Okay, that's letter to Michael Griswinski. May I have a motion to write this letter and get it going?
I'll make a motion,
Right.
Michael.
Darrell will second it.
Okay, then write down the list. Sophia
Yes.
and Elle, you seconded it. Grant,
Yes.
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael has left. Michael's left us. Okay, thank you. Okay, it passes. Okay, let's go down to anything else under new business? Okay, we're going down to old business. Under rowing shells, we have a meeting this Friday, with Lou Allen, Ben Lathrop, myself, and Rich Thayer, talking about what we can do at getting us rowing shells out of the caged-in area from Mohegan Park. Lou Allen, his connection to the rowing shells would be introducing them to the educational system starting at grade 8 and going forward into Norwich Free Academy. Ben Lathrop's, I hope his input would be to support the idea in so much as he was one of the original founders of getting the grant to buy these, and I'm sure that he would like to see them in use. And Rich there is, he's got a piece of property that we're trying to work on to see if that will be adequate for putting the shells, and myself would be working all three of those angles. And that's what we're doing with rowing shells, and probably more to come in the next few meetings. It's not going to be something going to be done quickly, and I don't know if Jeff, you're still there, right, Jeff?
Oh, yes.
The rowing shells, would that, any part of that fall into these, ship grant opportunities?
That's what I think when Sophia and I looked at the waterfront, we talked about that, and also with Mr. Salvatore. And I'll talk about it with him tomorrow. But
Okay.
if we had public property available to serve as a base for these rowing shells, that's clearly improving that property would be fundable through a ship grant. But if the property is privately owned, it wouldn't be. And so
No.
that's something to talk about, because if there was a public space, a public spot to support a rowing program, I'm confident we could get money through the ship program to improve it. But we don't have a spot yet. We don't have that city controlled
I don't
spot.
know. Yeah, I looked the river up one side and down the other, and I still have not found a spot that's city owned. And it's highly restricted because of the railroad, the GW, Genesee Wyoming Railroad. But so we're going to keep working on that.
And whether the purchase of the shells would be something that would be covered if they, well, anyway, I'll bring it up tomorrow when I talk with him, but it would be a great opportunity if there was a public spot to support access for rowing.
Yeah. No, I something that we've got the river, we've got the students, we just need fun. Okay.
And that's why we talked about the marina facility, which is city owned. If some sort of agreement could be made to use part of that city owned property, but I guess that was thought not to be something that was feasible to consider now.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised before. Okay. Anything more under the Port Authority? Jeff, I think you've done a great job of bringing us up to date with Mr. Salvatore and
Well,
further
well,
qualifying what the Port.
We also talked about having Mr. Salvatore and the executive director come to Norwich, just to take a look at Brown Park, the area that they funded. But right now, we don't have any other potential project to discuss. And that was one of the things that was suggested of us, since the Port Authority has funding now for 5 years. And authorized to spend up to $5 million a year. I mean, not just in Norwich, of course, but all of Connecticut, plus an additional $9 million. If we've been unsuccessful in doing this, but if we had a 5-year program for projects that could be funded through this harbor grant program from the Port Authority, and we put those in the harbor management plan update now, we would be in excellent shape. We'd be ahead of other towns, I think, but we don't have other projects yet on public land.
Yeah. Well, right. Okay, it's going to be city-owned public property.
Yeah.
Sophia, can we get together and talk about that?
Yep, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, great.
Yeah,
Um,
Tucker, is it all right if I just chime in for a second?
Yeah,
So
please.
Jeff, would projects cover anything that's on the mainland as well? So pretty much like, I know I went down there and I looked at the pavilion, could use some work, like the bottom of it has been broken and like animals have dragged trash into underneath there. Is that something that could happen? Is like maybe restoring that? I know the
Yeah.
area by the old Putts Up dock is kind of in rough shape. It looks like, it's being used as more of a like place to shelter at night rather than something that the community could use. Is that something else that we could potentially use some of that money for? I'm just trying to spitball some ideas. I went down there the other day and was kind of just looking around, and I know that the Heritage Trail could potentially use some maintenance and cleaning up, and that might not be a bad way to spend the funds.
Well,
So I don't really know where the realm of possibilities are. So if you could just maybe explain more on that, Jeff, I would appreciate it.
well, the Putz Up Dock area is privately owned still, right? But the Heritage
Right.
Trail, seems like that's something that we could discuss with the Port Authority. So these sorts of ideas that you just mentioned and other ideas, that's why we wanted the officials from the Port Authority to come to Norwich, and we could talk about them, the ideas with them. But if you, what improve, I think it would need to be more than just cleaning up,
Yeah.
debris. It would need to be some sort of physical improvements, because these are meant to be for what they call harbor infrastructure related stuff, and for the public. I think if we could maybe, I don't know the answer right away, but the Heritage Trail, improvements to that, if there were physical improvements we could make, I think that might be fundable. But I'll
Yeah.
ask.
May I just, that's a good idea to, but that unfortunately the Port Authority is owned by, the Putz Up Dock is owned by the private company. But if the city, could we then, Jeff, do you think there'd be funding there for a community center on the river?
I don't know, but where would we,
Yeah.
where would it be?
Where would it be?
Yeah.
It would be in, well,
See, you get into the pub, it needs to be on public property.
yeah, I understand public property. Okay, well, Sophia, maybe we could talk about this and maybe bring Jeff in.
Yeah, give me a call. And I
Okay,
can help,
sounds good.
right? Do you need help writing the letter to Deep? Are you gonna do that, Jeff? Or like, do you need somebody from the commission to do that?
It's sort of a formal letter that we would send.
Okay.
We can do that right away, Sophia.
Okay.
It's just a
Yeah.
one-page thing, and maybe bring Grant into the discussion if he has
Yeah.
seen some ideas of improvements.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Question, can this is Darrell, I have a question. Is there a chance you could, email the, I think the harbor plan you talked about, that you
Yes,
guys worked on? So that, I could catch myself up to speed on that part. And maybe that also could spark some ideas or discussions as to where we go as well. Because I think Grant's on to something, as far as where we need to go, but I definitely want to kind of have a chance to look over that plan that you guys did before this became my assignment.
that's my fault.
Absolutely.
Well, Tucker asked me to do that before this meeting, and I didn't send it to you and Grant, but I'll have to send it in pieces, if that's okay. And that's our next topic of discussion at the meeting now too, but I'll do that if you just, I'll send the sections that we're working on to you, maybe not tonight, but before the weekend, if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine.
Fine, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see. So then let's move down to any other comments or questions? Let's move down to the harbor management plan.
Right.
And that's your discussion.
Right. So between Christmas and New Year's, I met with, I met via the computer, like we're doing now, with two people from Deep, including, as you know, oh gosh, the fellow from Norwich who retired and was very helpful to us. I'll think of his name in a minute.
Bill
but-
Zika?
Pardon
Bill
me?
Zika.
No,
Bill
no, no,
Zika.
the other guy from, it just slips my mind, but anyway, so they're reviewing what our drafts of the plan, with the understanding that we want to have, hopefully we'll receive Deep approval in the spring. But as I mentioned to Tucker, and I'm talking too much at this meeting, I know, but an issue arose in our discussion. It's not Norwich's fault, but it affects Norwich. And it's the way that DEEP looks at recommendations of a harbor commission, any harbor commission. And there's an ongoing, for the new members, there's an ongoing judicial case in Connecticut, which is in the Court of Appeals now. And it resulted from a controversy in Greenwich, Connecticut, where somebody got permission to build a dock. It was controversial. The neighbors objected and appealed the issuance of the DEEP permit, saying, among other things, that DEEP failed to properly address the recommendations and concerns of the Harbor Management Commission. DEEP said that they didn't have to. They didn't have to address the recommendations of the Harbor Commission, even though in the Greenwich Harbor Management Plan, it talks about recommendations of the Harbor Commission being binding on DEEP decisions unless DEEP explains why they do something else. So the town of Greenwich has appealed that, saying that it diminishes municipal authority. And other harbor management commissions have discussed this, and this commission did as well last year. And so when we discussed the pending revisions to the Norwich plan, I said that we expect and anticipate that the same language that you approved in the Greenwich plan will be approved in Norwich. In other words, the DEEP must follow the recommendations of the Harbor Commission. And the people I talked with at DEEP said that they're now having second thoughts about having approved that language. The other thing that the judge did in this case, which is really inexplicable, he made the opinion that a Harbor Commission has no authority to even be involved in DEEP decisions, which is contrary to long-established practice and to the harbor management law. So that's something. It doesn't affect it. We're not going to change that in the draft plan. We're not going to take it out of it. We'll submit it to DEEP, and then but we're going to have to argue with them over that, I think. And we're going to have to argue that we want the same consideration that you gave to other towns in approving their plans. So that's the main thing that I came out of that meeting with. They didn't have anything else to add in terms of substance to what we put in the draft plan. And for Durrell and Grant, the draft, since we've been working on it for several years, it had older base maps, which I'm switching now to put in new maps. But I'll send to you what we're doing. But the issue is this issue that affects all harbor commissions, and it has to do with the authority of a municipal harbor commission. And at the same time that Greenwich is appealing this, other commissions were sort of huddling together, if that's the right word, to see if they could propose an amendment to the harbor management law to make clear this authority of the intent of the Harbor Management Commission's authorities. But now we've been told that there's little, if any, chance to accomplish a change in the law this legislative session, since it is a short session. But anyway, when Durrell and Grant see what we've written, I think, sorry to be talking like you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but we have to get the draft plan to them in the next month or so, and that's what I'm working on. But to summarize, they didn't have any problems with what we put into the plan, other than that principle of the Harbor Commission's recommendations and its involvement in state permit reviews.
Okay, but Jeff, I don't feel as if we should just not do anything. I think we should come up with a plan, and we may have to modify the plan as we have over the years on how DEEP feels about us. But we have to have a plan of action of what we're going to be doing in our harbor.
We do, Tucker. And
Okay.
it's already it's in the existing plan. It's not like there's no
Just have,
plan. There's an existing effective plan that includes review by the Harbor Commission of applications to DEEP. And
Right.
also talks about recommendations of the Harbor Commission. When we don't want DEEP to go back on, what we're doing with the revised plan is just reflecting some changes that have happened, and also what to do at the Terminal Way project and at the new wharf area. But
right.
we're in good shape now. We just have to argue for local interests and not give in to the state when they say that. Well, that's, we've been talking about this.
Well, I think that we need a plan to go, an up-to-date plan to go to deep with.
Yes,
And Mr. Bland, or whomever's going to review it. And the name you're looking for earlier, was it Paul Hinch? Was that the name you're looking for earlier?
no, it's our good friend, Dave Kozak.
Oh, that, okay. So if we have the plan, I think that this is how we should try to function as a harbor commission, and what we can do in our harbor, and whatever grants are available from the ship through the Port Authority, we should reach out and get them as often as we can.
Yes, and that's how we supported this
body-
grant for the Brown Park that we got.
Yeah, the body of this plan that we have, it's been about 3 years in the making. This is a plan. This is meat of what we go to our legislators with and say, this is what we're looking for in southeastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I mean, we got a grant.
I'm sorry, Tucker, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's all right. I think you know my frustration on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, each year we put this off, there may be a lawsuit, Saybrook, or another Essex maybe. Hello? Still there? Hello?
Still here. We're still here.
We're here.
I just dropped my phone. You know, we've got to come up with how we feel as a community to improve our harbor and proactive steps to deal with the railroads on either side of the harbor, but we just can't keep putting it off. We have to have this body of work to say, this is how we feel. This is southeastern Connecticut, and these are the things we're looking for. And they're not out of line with what other harbors are getting. Other small tributaries into the Sound. If we have that, then we can say, look, we've all come together, and this is how we feel about southeastern Connecticut and the Thames River. It's an important estuary. You're going to have to help us out here. Go back to deep with it. Okay, I've said my piece.
Noted.
Anything else? We want to talk about the harbor management plan. Anything else? Any citizen comments? Am I still connected here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do we have any citizen comments? Any citizens want to make comments on this, to this commission? Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about? Then hearing nothing from anyone, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Darrell, second, please.
Sophia,
Mike Walt
second.
here.
Okay.
Or
A couple
Michael.
of people want. All those in favor? I'm going to go right down the list. Michael Gutierrez. Yes.
Yes.
Sophia.
Yes.
Darrell,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Yes.
Michael, I think he's out. And and I also would like to adjourn. Thank you all for your participation. I hope that we can accomplish a couple of things that we have floating around here, the docks and getting the boat out of the Thames River. Appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, can you hang on for a second? And Darrell, can you leave it up before you close it? Everybody else can drop. I just had a quick question for
Have a
Jeff.
good night.
Jeff, you there? Can you hang on for a second?
Yes, sure.